She walked into the retreat alone, gray linen dress, canvas tote, no logo, no name tag. The candidates didn't see a designer suit, so they didn't see her at all. "Hey, the caterer's early," Derek smirked. "Kitchen, that way," Madison pointed. Laughter followed her down the hall. Sierra caught it on video, already cutting clips for her followers. What they didn't know, Olivia Ross designed this retreat, every task, every test. The leadership retreat rose out of the pines like a monument to power. Glass walls, white stone, words etched into the pillars out front. Excellence, vision, strength. Inside, the air was cold, precision-cut marble beneath polished shoes, light slicing through cathedral-high windows, polos starched crisp, Rolex faces blinking beneath rolled cuffs, smiles sharp enough to cut. This was not a place for hesitation. Madison Lang leaned against the welcome desk, perfect posture, perfect teeth, the daughter of a board member, entitled, magnetic, dangerous. Derek Cole beside her, VP candidate, loud, gelling every hair into submission, laugh built like a weapon. Sierra Patel scrolling, lips glossed, streaming half the weekend to an audience hungry for luxury leadership content. Leadership goals, her tagline read. Gordon Reeves, HR director, floated between groups, sleeves pushed high to show off a woven leather band, smiled too easily, stopped nothing. The crowd moved like a school of fish, bodies angled toward the spotlight, away from the shadows. Then Olivia Ross walked in, quiet, alone, linen dress soft against the gleam of steel and stone, faded cardigan, flat scuffed pail at the toes, a worn canvas tote hanging from one shoulder as if she'd missed the dress code memo entirely. She did not miss it, she ignored it. Madison's head cocked just slightly, smile tightening. "Check the list, Gordon. I think someone wandered off from the catering crew." Derek chuckled, not looking up from his phone. "Nah, probably yoga class down the hall." Sierra lowered her camera for a moment, whispered behind the screen, "Vibe check failed." The chat bubble pinged, laughing emojis. One follower typed, "Staff trying to sneak a selfie with the execs." Olivia stood still, hands loose at her sides, head high. The check-in desk intern, maybe 19, hesitated, eyes flicking from Olivia to the badge printer, back again. What's your name?" Olivia gave it, simple, steady. The intern found her, printed the badge, handed it over like it might bite. "Oh, right, okay, welcome." The lobby stayed loud enough for the jokes to carry. "Somebody please point her to the kitchen," Derek grinned. "Maybe she's here to refill the coffee urn," Madison smirked. Olivia clipped the badge onto her dress. No reaction, no reply. Gordon's voice drifted from behind the clipboard, bland as milk. "Orientation in 15. No defense, no correction." They moved past her like she was invisible. In the first workshop, chairs arranged in a clean circle beneath the etched slogan, "Strategic thinking builds legacy." Madison took the seat directly across from Olivia, legs crossed slow, one eyebrow lifted. Sierra angled her phone just right for a candid. Caption typed fast, thumbs moving like blades. "Leadership retreat, but the janitor showed up. #awkward, #goals." A few quiet chuckles. Olivia's eyes flicked once to the screen, then back to the facilitator. She didn't speak, not yet. In the corner, Alina Chang, soft-spoken analyst from mid-management, sat small against the big voices, not laughing, watching. The first exercise began, leadership styles, icebreakers, self-introductions. Madison's voice carried like crystal over water. "Madison Lang, Strategy Division, Board Legacy." Derek leaned back, feet wide. "Derek Cole, VP candidate, Chicago branch, here to win." Sierra flashed a piece signed to her phone. "Sierra Patel, Design Division, Digital Engagement Lead." It came to Olivia's turn. She said nothing, just a faint nod, badge catching the light, no name offered, no title claimed. Derek snorted softly, "Must be new at coffee duty." Gordon smiled, said nothing. The room moved forward. Olivia did not. She watched and waited. The second morning broke clean and bright. Sunlight poured across the glass atrium, so perfect it looked artificial. The group gathered early, crisp shirts, hair flawless, coffee held like props, polished, prepared. Olivia sat near the back, tote at her feet, legs crossed quietly at the ankle, cardigan sleeves pushed to the elbow, soft cotton creased at the bend. Derek noticed first. "Look who's back," he muttered, nudging Madison with his elbow. Madison didn't bother looking. Of course she is. Someone has to clear the plates. Sierra raised her phone without shame, lens trained on Olivia, voice pitched just soft enough to sound innocent. Morning leadership team, day 2, still wondering if the housekeeping staff is joining the negotiation drills. #awkward, #leadership fail. Hearts popped across her screen like gunfire. The facilitator spoke, explaining the first challenge of the day: scenario drills, crisis response simulations, group decision-making under pressure. Madison smiled, teeth sharp. Finally, something real. Teams formed fast, hands shooting up, names called out like roll in a private school classroom. No one called Olivia. She stood, moved to the last remaining cluster, unclaimed spots at the far table. The intern from the check-in desk sat there too, eyes wide, unsure. Derek leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her settle. His grin didn't reach his eyes. Sierra angled her camera again. The first scenario landed on the screen: product recall, public outrage, investor panic, what's your move? Madison spoke first, cutting clean across the room: contain the media, spin the message, shift the blame. Derek nodded along. Leadership's about control. You don't need the truth, you need the story. Laughter, a few heads bobbed in agreement. Sierra raised her hand but didn't wait for a turn. Divert attention, create a feel-good distraction, charity partnership, animal shelters, works every time. The intern at Olivia's table scribbled frantic notes. Olivia watched them, silent. When her turn came, she spoke, soft but clear. What do you do when the error comes from your own leadership, when the public isn't wrong to be angry? Derek's laugh cut sharp. Cute, the cleaning crew has opinions. Sierra's phone was still filming, still live. Madison rolled her eyes, voice loud, dripping with amusement. Honestly, does anyone even know why she's still here? A few smirks, one or two chuckles. The facilitator shifted awkwardly but didn't intervene. Gordon Reeves leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin, expression pleasant, empty. The intern's pen stopped moving. Olivia lowered her gaze, folded her hands into her lap, said nothing more. The next exercise began: group vote, rank the best solution. No one asked for Olivia's input. The facilitator collected the ballots, smiled, carried on. At lunch, the chatter surged. Did you see that post Sierra dropped this morning? Derek grinned, scrolling. Almost 2,000 views already. Comments are brutal, Madison laughed, tapping the screen. My favorite is, how did the janitor score an invite to the leadership table? Sierra beamed, scrolling her own feed. Engagement through the roof. At the far table, Olivia opened her tote, pulled out a plain sandwich wrapped in wax paper, ate slowly, no phone, no defense. Across the room, Elena Cheng watched her, hands tight in her lap. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The afternoon pressed on. Gordon stood, clipboard in hand. Peer evaluations, he announced lightly. Standard process. You'll each rate your teammates on collaboration, communication, leadership presence. The group chuckled, already scribbling. Derek's comment went in first. No presence, shouldn't be here. Madison, negative impact on group cohesion. Sierra, distracting, off-brand. Olivia filled her form, wrote nothing cruel, only what she saw. No one noticed. But the trap was already laid. By the third day, the retreat had softened at the edges, voices looser, laughter louder, confidence sharp as teeth. The morning session opened with strategy rounds, team presentations, feedback drills, evaluation sheets waiting at every seat. Madison stood first, flawless, chin high, words polished smooth as glass. Derek followed, louder than necessary, stomping through the scenario like it was already his, jokes tucked between bullet points, smile wide, empty. Sierra's turn next, presentation slick, background music swelling under her slides, quotes from Forbes and TikTok. Authentic leadership means knowing your audience. Applause scattered through the room. Olivia stayed seated, hands folded, badge clipped quietly against her linen. The facilitator gestured. Ms. Ross, would you like to share your assessment of the team's approach? She raised her eyes, spoke soft, steady, no. Then Derek leaned back, arms wide. Didn't catch that. Could you speak up? We want to make sure housekeeping's concerns get heard. Madison's smile curled slow at the corner. or maybe let's leave the decision-making to the candidates. Scattered laughter, low and mean. The facilitator's gaze flicked to Gordon. Gordon did not look up. Sierra kept her phone steady beneath the table. Live again. The screen behind them shifted. Next exercise. Crisis escalation, competitive response, group vote. The room broke into discussion, voices overlapping, ideas racing. Olivia waited, then measured. She offered a thought. Before you assign blame, she said, do you know who made the mistake, or just who's easiest to blame for it? Derek snorted. Look, I'm all for everyone having a voice, he said, loud, turning toward the room, but this is leadership strategy, not janitorial philosophy. Another ripple of laughter. Sierra zoomed in. Insight from the cleaning crew, she whispered to the stream. Comments exploded in real time. Laugh reacts stacking fast. Madison leaned forward, elbows on the table, smile slow, deliberate. Olivia, she purred, I've been meaning to ask, who actually invited you, because I'm pretty sure there's been a mistake. The air tightened. The facilitator coughed once, tried to steer the conversation back. Gordon didn't stop it. Olivia's hands stayed folded. Her face didn't flinch, not even her eyes. The next challenge began. Role-play negotiation, 2 sides, 1 prize. Derek volunteered first. Sierra chimed in. Madison closed the deal like a pageant queen with a business degree. Applause again, approval loud enough to drown out the smallness underneath. When Olivia raised her hand, it was almost polite. I'd like to offer an alternative solution, she said. Derek groaned out loud. Jesus Christ, somebody cut her mic. Sierra raised her phone higher, catching the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership in action, she cooed to the feed. The facilitator froze. The room lined in. Gordon, leaning back in his chair, just smiled. Madison didn't look away. Seriously, Madison said, voice sweet as syrup, I think we're all wondering, what's your title again? Derek laughed. Sierra filmed. A few others didn't laugh, but they didn't stop it either. The intern from check-in sat small in the back corner, watching the screen, watching Sierra's feed, noticing the comments roll in. Why is the janitor talking strategy? Who let her in the room? Real-world example of imposter syndrome, lol. The facilitator called time. Gordon stood, papers in hand, voice smooth as oil. We'll be moving into final evaluations, closing scores, candidate rankings. Heads nodded, pens lifted. Olivia didn't move, didn't blink. The room was loud with confidence, blind with it, but the air had shifted, something under the surface, tightening, ready. The sun had started to dip, washing the glass atrium in gold. Final session, closing evaluations. The air thick now, too many smiles, too many teeth. Gordon stood at the front, clipboard in hand, the corner of his mouth lifted in something that wasn't quite a smile. Well, he began, voice calm, practiced, thank you all for your energy this weekend. Before we wrap, one last piece of business. The room hushed, chairs shifted, pens clicked. The leadership assessments, Gordon continued, have been ongoing, silent, consistent, not from me, not from your facilitators. He paused, gaze sweeping the room. They've come directly from the architect of this retreat, the person brought in by the board to evaluate every single one of you. A few heads turned, Madison's lips pressed thin, Derek leaned forward, Sierra lowered her phone for once not streaming. Gordon's eyes found Olivia. Ms. Ross, he said, gesturing lightly, whenever you're ready. It hit like a blade through silk, the room stilled. Madison's brow knit tight. Wait, what? She laughed a little too sharp, you're joking. Derek barked out a short laugh. Okay, funny, good one, Gordon. Sierra's phone was back up, camera rolling, trying to catch the punchline. But there wasn't one. Olivia rose slowly, the weight of her tote brushing against her hip as she stood. Calm, measured, she stepped forward. I've been here all weekend, she said, voice steady, soft as thread through a needle. Listening, watching, taking notes. You showed me exactly who you are. Derek's jaw tensed, his grin snapped hard. All right, I don't know who signed off on this little stunt, but... Olivia didn't even glance his way. She set a small black folder on the center table, opened it, pages clean, bullet points sharp, the failures laid out in neat, merciless ink. Madison Lang, Olivia read aloud, disqualified, toxic conduct, repeated targeting of fellow participants, demonstrated inability to foster collaboration. Madison surged halfway out of her chair, hands flat on the table. "This is ridiculous. You're not even from corporate." Olivia turned the page, unbothered. Derek Cole, disqualified, failure to collaborate, hostile engagement, repeated violations of ethical communication standards. Derek's fists balled white at his sides. Sierra's phone dropped slightly in her hand. "Sierra Patel," Olivia continued, "disqualified, breach of confidentiality, violation of media policy, public mockery of fellow participants, documented live." Sierra's lips parted, words caught in her throat. The intern in the back, the same one who'd printed Olivia's badge, tapped frantically at their phone, eyes wide, scrolling through Sierra's now viral clip. The comments savage, screenshots spreading. Olivia laid the final page flat. Gordon cleared his throat softly, but made no move to stop her. "Let me be very clear," Olivia said, eyes sweeping the room. "This was not a game. You were not evaluated on your pitch decks or your buzzwords." Her gaze settled, still and steady, on Madison. "You were evaluated on how you laid when no one's watching." Madison's chair screeched back across the marble as she stood, breath-sharp, hands shaking. "This is garbage," Madison hissed. "You don't have the authority." Olivia's voice did not rise. "The board does." One small nod toward Gordon, toward the facilitator. The facilitator nodded back. "Their decision is final." Silence crushed the room. Madison's face flushed red, mouth opening, then closing, jaw tight as a trap. Sierra's phone slipped lower, the feed still running, the comments still coming. Derek didn't speak, just stared at the floor, jaw clenched hard enough to crack teeth. The rest of the group sat frozen, no laughter now, only the sound of their own breathing. The walls of the retreat stood tall and clean around them, the words etched into stone above the door. Integrity, empathy, accountability. They had failed everyone. And Olivia had not needed to raise her voice to show them. By Monday morning, the clips had circled the internet like blood in the water. Sierra's livestream, the mocking, the laughter, Derek's voice calling out, cut her mic, Madison's sneer, played on loop across LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter. Pulled, reposted, stitched, dissected. What happens when bullies think no one's watching? Leadership in name only. The intern kept the receipts. Sierra's influencer contracts dropped by noon. Brand partners vanished faster than the likes had stacked on her stream. PR statements issued, weak and late. Derek's name scrubbed from the VP candidate list by end of day. Internal memo leaked, comments brutal. Failure to collaborate, failure to lead. Madison Lang's candidacy revoked. Her father, the board member, tried to make calls, but the board didn't return them. They didn't need to. The footage was the verdict. No one could explain it away. Not this time. The leadership retreat that was supposed to crown the next generation of executives had become a case study in what happens when cruelty meets consequence. Inside the retreat center, the last afternoon session fell apart. Groups dissolved, conversations hushed. The ones who had laughed sat quieter now, watching the fall, watching each other. Some lowered their eyes, some didn't. Gordon Reeves remained at the back of the room, hands folded, smile gone. He hadn't stopped it, none of them had. Eleanor Chang, quiet all weekend, crossed the floor at last, stood in front of Olivia, voice low. "I should have said something," she whispered. "I'm sorry." Olivia didn't answer right away, just looked at her, long enough to let the words settle, then soft. "Next time, say it sooner." Eleanor nodded, eyes bright, throat tight. The retreat closed without ceremony, no awards, no group photo, just the weight of silence where applause was meant to be. Olivia packed her totes slowly, folded her notes, buttoned her cardigan at the wrist, no victory speech, no gloating, only stillness, only dignity. She nodded once to the facilitator, walked past Gordon without a glance. Outside, the lake waited. Glass still, fog curling soft along its surface, the world quiet here, as if it hadn't seen what the cameras caught. Olivia stood alone at the water's edge. The cold nipped at her cheeks, but she didn't pull her sleeves down. She let the air bite, watched the mist move. Behind her, inside the walls of the retreat, the ones who had laughed sat with their undone ambitions, their titles stripped, their names sinking. Olivia did not smile, did not celebrate. The ones who broke her were still breaking themselves. And that was enough. The clip of Madison shouting, "Who even let her in?" kept playing on the feed. The comment pinned at the top. "She built the room you thought you owned."